X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is your weekly X-Men podcast where normally we rank every X-Men story from A to Z. That's Adam, I'm Zach.
Adam.
You're Adam, I'm Zach. We're not doing that this week because there's too many X-Men stories, people. I don't know what to tell you. There's so many, and we needed a break from doing them all after some of the content from last week. We needed a refresher, and that's why we brought on senior editor Jordan D. White.
Hi, Jordan.
Hello. Thank you for having me. What did you read last week?
Ultimatum.
Oh, so that counts. Okay.
Yeah, it's an X-Men story.
That's a story about Magneto deciding to flip the world upside down because they hate mutants so much.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Someone once said this to me, and I didn't go back and reread it to see if they were right. But someone once pointed out to me that there was no ultimatum in Ultimatum.
There was an ultimatum wave.
But no one makes an ultimatum.
There's no. Magneto makes no demands. Things just happen.
Yeah, that's the least of that story's problems.
You don't like Hungry Blob?
Oh, we talked about that at length.
Listen, as a man who has a framed portrait of Blob from the more recent times, so much and likes him so much so that my kids somehow from the Lego Marvel game are like, oh yeah, Daddy likes Blob, and drew pictures of Blob from that.
Delightful.
I have not appreciated that going back.
No.
There's a lot of challenges with that book. It's infamous for a reason.
Yep.
My understanding is you did not work on the Ultimate line.
No,
2000s.
It was, if I remember correctly, it was coming out of the same office though that I was in, because I was still Mark Panicha's assistant at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I just wasn't involved in any of the ultimate stuff at that point. I was probably still working on Hulk stuff and Hercules and editing the Ender's Game adaptations and all the tie-ins to that and various things. Because it was before I was in the X office for sure.
Right, because you popped around a bit. Jumped over to X-Men stuff, right around 2010-ish?
The year I'm not sure. I'll tell you, it was around the point in the Hulk book where Greg Pak was doing kind of a Mr. and Mrs. Smith kind of thing. And I think right after I left, they did a cover that was like a Hulk in a tuxedo, James Bondy looking cover. and in the X books, it was right before Schism. It was
okay.
Again,
see,
my first.
That is something I can understand.
Yes.
I have a good working knowledge of a lot of things. Covers of mid-2000s Hulk.
Nope.
That's not one that I have a great...
Wrong podcast.
I think we talked about it maybe one of the previous times I visited your podcast, but my first arc was Quarantine.
Right.
Right.
As an assistant editor.
Nice. Very cool. So quite an eventful week in X-Men.
Stuff that just came out, absolutely.
Yeah, huge reveal in Immortal X-Men on the last page.
Spoilers for last week's comics, folks.
Spoilers for last Wednesday's Immortal X-Men. It looks like Xavier is a Sinister. Everybody's a Sinister now.
What?
I don't know if we should have seen the signs that Kieran Gillen was going to make everything Sinister at some point in his tenure of being in charge of things, or at least in charge of a book. But, looking back, I shouldn't be as shocked as I am.
Are you saying it was in the cards, Zach?
Oh.
I mean, yeah, Kieran coming onto the books and starting to write Sinister again was huge for the character. But that said, Jonathan made him pretty central to the Krakoan experiment, so to speak.
Well, I want to talk about that a little bit here right up front, because 2023 is pretty much kicking off with you guys going into Sins of Sinister.
Yes, it is.
Which is interesting for me in a couple of ways. One, it's a smaller event for the X-Men group. But also, it's the first time really since, in the last 4 years or so, since Hoxpox kicked off, that we're seeing, hey, what's an alternate future, X-Men story, which hasn't happened. It hasn't happened in a while, and had been something that had been like, oh, here's this dark future, here's this dark future, here's this dark future.
Well, I think you're not counting maybe X Deaths of Wolverine.
Okay.
All right.
But not. I mean, listen. It wasn't the main thrust of it, exploring that dark future. But that's where that Wolverine came from.
Yeah, I guess I would lump that into. Oh yeah, that's the Moira Life 6 or whatever from Hoxpox extension of that at least. But
well, I think are you trying to say, Zach, that we haven't had an Age of X-Man style alt universe?
Sure. Well, he was talking about future.
Yeah,
Age of X-Men was a parallel thing.
Now, Sins of Sinister though is present, future, and future, right?
What, it's like 10, 100,000?
Yes.
Okay, so it's future.
It is
future.
It is taking a page again, taking a page out of the thematic ideas that were introduced in Powers of 10, and it's playing with the Powers of 10 again. The first month, all of the issue 1s of the 3 minis take place 10 years in the future. Issue 2s are 100 years in the future, and issue 3s are 1,000 years in the future.
That's awesome.
And it's crazy. It's a real head trip of a story, and I'm so excited for people to finally get to see it. We've been working on it obviously for a while. We did weird things because we have one artist per era rather than one artist per series.
Mm-hmm.
So one artist is doing all the 1s. That's Paco Medina. One artist is doing all the 2s. Andrea DeVito, and one artist is doing all the issue 3s. Alessandro Vitti. And that's weird. And people are probably going to be weirded out by it. But it makes sense to us because, again, we're going like, you're inventing this era. You're designing and drawing all of the books in that era. And then it jumps forward and it's like, it's 100 years. It's 90 years later, technically. Like things are going to look a little different. So let's have somebody else draw it, and things about 900 years later, it's going to be even more different. So let's go even crazier.
So let's talk about the structure of this a bit. For people who don't know, there is a capstone issue at the start in the back, and then 3 series: Immoral X-Men, Nightcrawlers, and Storm in the Brotherhood. That will be doing 3 issues in between those at those time intervals. Now, is the story, for each of those miniseries, are those running in parallel more or less, or do you got to jump between them and as a more continuous release function?
The answer is all of the above. The answer is you're talking about 3 really smart and clever writers. You're talking about Kieran Gillen, you're talking about Al Ewing, you're talking about Cy Spurrier, and all 3 of them are really into trying neat stuff, and I get really into trying neat stuff in comics as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I've done enough that sometimes I'm like, let's do something weird. Let's do something weird and interesting. I mean, again, and that's part of. I mean, I feel like I point back at it too much, and I don't want to repeat myself. But like, the pandemic started, and we're like, oh my god, life is hard. Let's do a 29-part crossover.
Right.
As one does.
Or was it 26? I could be wrong. I can't remember.
It was many.
Yes, it was a lot.
Fun fact: reread that one.
Hey, how was it?
Pretty good.
Okay.
Did pretty good.
That was dangerous asking, I guess.
I was curious. I was curious how it would feel in one big swoop, especially removed from, let's face it, the oddness that was that year.
Yeah.
And wow, yeah, no, big fans of Ten of Swords.
Yeah.
Oh,
there's
great
7. How many things are on the list right now, Zach? 700 and
700 some X-Men stories.
Ten of Swords came in at number 10.
What? That's amazing.
So
that's unheard of.
You should feel good.
That's scandalous.
Don't
It
worry,
was really
Jordan. We could look at the bottom of the list too and see if there's anything you touched out there. If you really want to
Certainly not.
get checked both
Absolutely
ways. But
not.
Just to be
Definitely
clear,
not.
Ultimatum ended up in the bottom 10.
Well, again, didn't work on it. What was number one again? I'm sure it hasn't changed. It's probably Days of Future Past.
No, it's
Hot
actually
Spots.
Hot Spots. Days of Future Past was our second number one. I think, if I'm remembering right, and Adam, you'll have to correct me. We started the show with God Loves Man Kills.
Yes. And then
I think Days of Future Past. And then I think Dark Phoenix jumped it.
Yep.
Really? Dark Phoenix is great, obviously.
I think Dark Phoenix has more emotional hooks for me than Days of Future Past personally. And I think that's what worked.
Days of Future Past, they're all really good. I guess Days of Future Past is a pretty short story too.
Yeah.
It does a lot really quick.
It's still at number 4.
It's still at number 4. That's great. Yep. How far down is Battle of the Atom?
I
only asked because obviously the name of the show.
We should just do this. We should just have Jordan review the list.
Battle of the Atom.
I worked on that one.
Battle of the Atom is 195.
Okay, pretty far down.
So no, Jordan, you don't understand. Being in the top 200, it's a good thing.
Okay, all right.
I would argue that maybe we would reconsider Battle of the Atom after some time, but I still like it enough that we have a podcast.
Higher or lower, Zach? Because I probably
don't know. Listen, there's
he's gonna say lower. It's fine.
I'm gonna say lower. There's a lot of issues and maybe a little bit of fat that can be trimmed, but
he doesn't like old Deadpool. He doesn't like.
I actually do like old. Hold on, I like old Deadpool. I like Molly Hayes. I in fact got really excited about a comic that I'm not going to name that did come out a few years back that had all of the new X-Men from that on the cover, and then they weren't actually in the issue, and I was a little disappointed.
I don't think I worked on that. What was the name of Wolverine and Mystique's kid?
Raze.
Raze, who is still in the 616.
Sure.
Still walking around.
Could be anyone. Probably in every Marvel comic this month.
Yeah.
Just in disguise.
Storm's kid with the pet jaguar.
No, she went back.
Oh, she did go back. All right, forget that. I'm sorry.
I mean, there is still Ultimate Wolverine, who is
James.
a Venom.
Yeah, he's a Venom, right?
So I mean,
out there.
Jordan, there's in the Claremontian tradition
a poison.
In the Claremontian tradition, if any of your writers are stuck, there's a lot of plot threads. You could be like, well, what about this one?
I was just thinking about one. You know what? I was going to just tell you what unpicked up plot thread, what dropped plot thread I was thinking about today, but I probably shouldn't because I shouldn't admit that I dropped a plot thread or that we don't care about that right now. By saying this is one that we're not following up on, people are going to be like, what? I do think it's
a Hoxpox era plotline though.
It is not. It is a
not a Krakoan era plotline.
Okay, pre-Krakoan era one.
Okay,
actually, that's fine.
What are we? Sins of Sinister.
Okay,
wait.
Sinister.
Hold on. I had a good segue there though.
Oh, please.
Because we're talking about forgotten characters. Why pick James Poison? Venom James if we can have Rasputin 4.
That's a great point. Great point. A great looking character, a really fun and exciting character. And yeah, I think we've long wanted to bring her in, and we've had various thoughts on how to do so, but I think we settled on a pretty good one in Sins of Sinister.
It's exciting.
I'm excited to see that. It's good company. Now, I'm curious, this is a smaller crossover. It's only between 3 books.
Yeah.
Where in the past you have done, the Tens of Swords that were everything in the kitchen sink.
Mm-hmm.
What made you settle on something a little bit quieter, a little bit smaller for this one?
Honestly, a few different things. So first of all, at one point we were thinking about having it blow out the whole line, having it be every single book doing this time jump into the future. I think we didn't for a couple of reasons. One is that it is complicated. And I don't mean it sounded like it was too hard for us to do. I mean, like the story is already very complicated in what you will see in the 11 issues that we are going to do. And so there was a lot already to do and a lot to keep track of. without having to go, all right, what is X-Force doing in all this? What is this other book doing in all this? What is this other book doing in all this? And so that was for the ease of the story, that it will be a more streamlined and straightforward. And again, the idea that I just used straightforward to describe this, when you read it, you will go, what is he talking about? But again, it could have been worse, is what I'm saying. And the other being that also that's 3 months of time out of those books. And like, everybody has stories they want to tell. And everybody kind of was like, well, but we also don't necessarily want to lose 3 months out of every single book. The 3 books that we are bringing in are the books that this is pretty essential to them and to what their story is. So, I mean, and when you read it again, you'll be like, oh yeah, this is clearly going to be important for X-Men Red. This is clearly going to be important for, or like, this is a natural extension of what was happening in every other book that that is in it. So I think it'll make a lot of sense. That said, I also think because of the weird nature of it, and I don't want to explain too much about how it works, but I still think it will be relatively easy to easy is not the right word, but it's a good place that if you want to come back in, you can. Easy,
I don't think about these 3 writers as easy writers. And I don't mean that in a negative way at all. They are writers that expect you to sit down and pay attention to what you're doing.
Yes. This is going to be a book that you absolutely have to pay attention to. You absolutely have to be going, oh, I am riveted to this. But I think that's rewarding. I think all 3 of them are writers who can deal with really elaborate and complicated plots and also deliver extremely well on character and on emotion, and give you, the gut punch when they need to, and give you the welling up of tears when they need to. And I'm lucky to be working with all 3 of them.
So speaking of events, I mean, we're coming right off the heels of AXE.
Right.
And then we also know that later in 2023, it's been announced that Fall of X is also, I don't know if that can be classified as like a crossover event or if that's just another like Dawn of X thing. But is there ever a fatigue from crossover madness?
Sure. Well, so what I'll say about that is, again, first of all, just coming off of AXE, which I think ruled.
Yeah, Gillen did a fantastic job.
That one's pretty good too.
Yeah,
y'all are not missing on the crossover front.
I didn't edit AXE proper.
Right,
did, obviously, that came out of the Avengers office, but it is great, and I'm so proud of the tie-ins that we did to it. We did a lot of tie-ins to it, and again, that contributes to not saying, okay, now everybody tie in with Sinister.
Well, and Dark Web is also
Dark Web as well. Dark Web as well. Although again, that's relatively light as far as tie-ins go. We did a skip month of X-Men. We did an annual in that month, but and then we did 3 issues of the X-Men tie-in. So it was just 3 issues we did tying in with that. But again, it was a blast, and I think it's a fun story, and I'm glad we did it. But my point being that like X-Force doesn't have to tie in with that, Deadpool doesn't have to tie in with that, Wolverine doesn't have to, like, it's not like everybody is in line for that. Whereas Wolverine and X-Force both did tie in for AXE, and like so many books did, X-Men did, and all those things. So for this, we went. You guys can have that off. As far as Fall of X goes, and again, we're pretty far out, so I don't want to say too much. It is probably a little bit halfway in between those 2 things.
Okay.
In the sense of, it's not just, well, I don't know, like Dawn of X, it could be compared to in the sense of, Dawn of X, in some ways, Dawn of X was just a name. Like, it was like, we're just calling this era Dawn of X. Don't worry about it. But it also came like after a huge shift. It, like, obviously Hawks and Pox, everything is different now.
They were a fairly big deal.
Something really big happens, and as a result, this is the new thing that we're in, Fall of X. It's not going to be Fall of X 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 across the entire line. And there's not going to be a book called Fall of X. So it's going to be in the next.
Okay, but is there going to be a book called Fall of 10?
Good
'Cause
question.
I've been burned before.
That's true. That's fair. That's fair. So in some ways, it's just the next phase of Krakoan of the Krakoan story, but a little bit different because there's a reason it's happening, and what sets it apart from the previous one is significant.
Nice.
That is exciting to hear. Now, I was curious. You mentioned that Axe was coming out of the Avengers and Brevoort's office. Adam had mentioned Dark Web that's coming out of the Spider-Man group, more or less. It's an amazing Spider-Man story that's been blown up. And there are a lot of things I've at least noticed in this last year where your office is participating in these things that are at least promoting and highlighting the X-Men's involvement in them, whether or not you guys are as deeply involved as you were with like Axe or something like that. How is that different from the last few years where it has seemed that Krakoa has been an island? It has been pretty insulated, and you guys have kept it while tying into things. Not everyone has gotten to play around with some of those toys, and it seems like in this year it's been. By the way, they are connected to all of the Marvel Universe, and everyone is playing around with it. How's that been to edit and manage?
Well, it's certainly not necessarily easy, but I think I'm going to say this, and I don't mean this in any negative way. I'm not trying to throw shade on anyone because I get it, and I can even speak to how and why I get it. But I think that people were intimidated by what we were doing. Now, I don't mean hold on. Let me be very clear.
I am.
I don't mean because we were so good and they all sucked. No, not in any capacity. I mean, in the sense that we changed what we are doing with X-Men so dramatically. Mm-hmm. If you're going to have Spider-Man in a book, most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time you can go, yeah, he swings around on webs. This is Peter Parker. He makes some quips. I'm good. I got it. When we would explain what we were doing with the X-Men, a lot of times people would be like, but so what, how would I put them in a book? And I would always try to tell them, well, no, here's how you would put them in a book. Like, it has to be kind of coming from this point of view. And like, this is the kind of attitude they have. And this is the kind of attitude that I would assume that your heroes would have about them. And, but here, here's the kind of negative side, but also like, they're still the same heroic people that they always were. It's not like they're ever going to turn their back on people in danger just because they have their own country now. Like, they're not going to be like, not a citizen, get out of here. Like, no, the good X-Men are still good. The bad ones are still bad. And they did. You can go through and you can find places where they did show up in books.
Oh, absolutely.
But it didn't happen as often as it sometimes has in the past. Now, what you'll notice though about the two examples you just made is AXE and Dark Web. Those are both written by people who wrote Krakoan era books. And so they were already very entrenched in what we're doing and how it works and how to make it fit into things. So it was a lot easier. And and again, that's not a slam in any way. There are books in our line that I am super not caught up on. And if you said to me, you have to do a tie-in with them, I'd be like, oh, what? I have to go read a bunch of books now. Hold on. Which is fine. They're all probably going to be super fun to read, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not as intimately aware of what they're doing if they've changed the status quo.
Because for people who may not know how things are broken up, you don't directly edit every single X-Men book. You have other editors, associate editors that are in charge.
Yeah, there's six people in the X-Men editorial office. There's me, two editors, Mark Basso and Sarah Brunstad. There's an associate editor, Lauren Amaro, who works with me on all my books as well. Mm-hmm. And then there's two assistant editors, Drew Baumgartner and Anita Okoye, who work on the line. But we all work relatively closely together. Like, we're well aware of what we're doing. But then all the Avengers books come out of the Avengers office under Tom Brevoort. All of the Spidey books and symbiote books and all stuff like that come out of Nick Lowe's office. All the Star Wars books, which we do not cross over with, come out of the Panic office. I would love to, but not in the cards yet. Yeah. So when we do crossovers, there's a lot of we consult each other. We go, hey, we want to use this character. Is it all right if something like this happens at this time? And then we'll go, yeah, just make sure this. And then when the script comes in, we'll usually share that as well and just check for any Typically, that's how it's meant to work. Anyway, sometimes people screw up, but
So
that's how it's meant to work.
When Ms. Marvel just does like Kelly Thompson just does like a 3-issue arc where.
Well, that's an interesting example because Sarah Brunstad, who is in our office, brought Captain Marvel with her.
Okay. Okay.
So which is not to say, and therefore Captain Marvel is a X-Men book. It's not. It's just a book Sarah is continuing to edit, but it was very easy to coordinate because Sarah is in our office. So that's why they can do the very easily do the big X-Men Brood story they're doing.
Yeah. See, and I'm sorry I said Miss Marvel instead of Captain Marvel.
I knew
realize that as was saying. Thank you.
You're going to get in trouble with other people, Adam.
As always,
we're cool with it.
Don't worry, I'm not on Twitter anymore. But it is interesting that, people quote unquote borrowing the characters. You still have a little bit of ownership based on the people that have worked in the office or are currently working in the office, either editorially or from writing, maybe even from drawing, depending on what the project is.
Sure. I mean, yeah. So, I mean, obviously Kieran is currently still writing Immortal X-Men. So when he did AXE, it was like, yeah, this ties in with everything I'm doing there. Like this is all, the story is all connected.
He wasn't going to trip himself up.
Right. And then meanwhile with Zeb had written Madeline Pryor in Hellions in a big way. He knew what Vita was doing with Madeline in New Mutants, and he was like, hey, I have an idea. Can we make this work? And we were like, yeah, of course. That sounds great. Is that over yet? No, it's still got the finale.
Yeah, the finale's over. I'm not sure how many ASM issues are left. I think
only one. I could be wrong.
It's getting close. I know a handful of the tie-ins have wrapped up. The Ms. Marvel one wrapped up like a week ago. A few others are getting there.
Yeah, we finished ours as of today.
That was today,
yeah.
We're recording on Wednesday the 18th.
Yeah, yep. I got to say, I really enjoyed that. For someone who we've gone on the record as not being big Inferno fans.
What?
The original.
Big in terms of we don't think it's the best thing Chris Claremont did, like some other people do.
Yeah, no,
that's it.
That's probably fair. In fact, definitely true. What I love about Inferno, I don't want to say isn't Chris Claremont. But the reason I love it is the whole.
Is it
monstrous thing.
The whole stuff where Daredevil gets his life choked out of him from the
I mean, again,
vacuum cleaner.
Back when Inferno happened, I was not an X-Men reader.
Right.
I was a Spider-Man reader. So I was reading Mary Jane smashing gold necklaces that came to life and things like that. And it was super fun.
Yeah. But that's what worked really well on this next round. Like that, I'll be honest, that is one of the aspects. I just went and watched Ghostbusters, and now I'm going to do my spin on it. Has never really worked for me, but yet
I didn't ever make that connection. Of course, it was Ghostbusters.
You didn't make the connection that Chris Claremont watched a movie. No, comic.
I know that. I just never made the Ghostbusters connection. Like I can't believe that I.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. Wow.
But the fact that we went from the Rockefeller Christmas tree. Becoming possessed and getting like burned and then in a block of ice. And then we go to this hugely, I thought, very effective emotional moment with Maddie and Jean. Kudos, Yeah.
Jerry's terrific to work with. Jerry Duggan, who wrote that, is so great. And I've been working with him now for, I think, 10 years since we started on Deadpool together. Cool. He is great. Same with what was the tie-in we did last year?
What was last year?
Devil's Reign.
Oh, Devil's Reign.
Which was another blast.
That's right.
We got to do the fun Emma Frost and Elektra story, flashback story. He's very good at finding ways to do cool stories, tying in with things. Back when we were on Deadpool, if I remember correctly, he tied in with every single event. And
yeah, he did.
Not in a way, in my opinion, again, I worked on it, so it was a great book. But in my opinion, in a way that always worked because he always centered it on, okay, that's what's happening in the world, and I'm going to involve in that. But like, what does that do to Wade? What does
Right.
that,
Mhm.
how does that affect Wade and our ongoing story? It wasn't, you know, oh, it's fine, he'll just show up and shoot the thing. It's like, no, like something in the ongoing story, whatever he wanted to do with Deadpool, how do we make it work towards that?
Right.
And this isn't exactly that necessarily, because both of these tie-ins were off to the side rather than in our main X-Men books, but he still took the opportunity to go, oh, like that's what that's about. Well, I can get to the heart of some character in both of those and do something really cool. And I think he did.
Yeah.
Well, I did want to ask about that because last year, that is the year that Deadpool came back into your office, and
That's
really
true.
as part of the X-Men line as a whole. What has it been like having that back in your wheelhouse?
Oh, it's a blast. I love Deadpool. I working with Alyssa has been terrific. They do such a good job on Dr. Aphra, which is another book that is near and dear to my heart because I got to work on the creation of that character in her series for a long time. So I was so pleased with what Alyssa was doing with Dr. Aphra that's what made me go, well, let's see. Alyssa's currently writing a like morally questionable scumbag who sometimes accidentally tries to do the right thing. Let's see if they can do Deadpool. And I've been really thrilled with it. And also Martin Coccolo. So one of the first things I did when Deadpool came back to me, not that I came up with, but I just worked on, was I finished out Deadpool Black, White, and Blood. Jake Thomas had set it all up and done the bulk of it, but the last issue was not done when he left Marvel. So I got to work on the last issue of that, and Martin Coccolo did a short in the last issue of that was so good. It was hilarious the whole time. The story is amazing, but the art was so good. So he was absolutely my first choice to draw a Deadpool series when we went to do that. I will ask you. You probably won't know the answer.
Ooh, challenge accepted.
Well,
I won't know the answer.
You probably won't. I made what, in my opinion, is a pretty big mistake with the Deadpool series. Do you have any idea what it is? Well, you know what? I'm not going to ask that question because that invites you to go, oh, you did this thing that sucked. And I don't want those answers. So let me give you a big
Carnage
clue.
continuity? Because I'm way off on that.
It doesn't involve any continuity. It involves a technical thing.
Oh, Jordan, I read these on my iPad on a PDF as I scroll through them.
You can see this thing on an iPad just as well as you can see it on paper.
Wow.
The answer is no. I have no idea. And
what could it possibly
be
curious if it's visual that you were responsible for? Like it's a specific flub.
Great question.
It's just something you didn't catch.
It is a thing that I knew in my mind I wanted to do the right way.
Yeah.
And then I did the issue. And then after issue 1 was in print, and not in print, but well at press. And it was actually when I first got in the proof of issue 2, I went, oh no, this is wrong. It's supposed to be, oh no, did we do that on issue 1 too? And we did, and it was too late. And I went, no.
Was it
right?
The X-Men trade dress on it?
No, I did want to do that, and we did do that.
You did.
I wanted to go a step further. I wanted to use mixed case lettering, but it has all caps lettering.
Okay. All right.
And I totally spaced on it because I did years and years of Deadpool in all caps lettering. And of course, nobody really thinks that hard about, are these letters I'm reading capital?
Yes, they do, because that's what tells you if you're reading an Ultimate Universe comic or not.
It's been years since that's the case.
The one time that was cleverly used is now the example of, that has to be what happens every time, right?
No, because again, Ms. Marvel has, I think, used that from the beginning.
Many have.
And unfortunately,
Deadpool always makes me giggle
which
when people see that and assume.
Which will be fun when we do put those into into one of the blank of X trades because it'll just be you'll reading, and then all of a sudden everything will be all caps. We'll see if anyone notices.
Jordan, I've got to be very honest with you.
Please,
and
please.
This is no disrespect to any of the fabulous comic book letterers out there.
Okay.
I am not sure that the average reader is thinking on that level of flipping a page like, wait, did they change the change the case on this?
Okay. All right.
Within a balloon.
Good.
I could
within a
imagine
balloon, that would be a bit much.
That'd be insane. With it, like if I switched a page, it would take me a sec. I'd have to be looking for it. And I'm more astute than the average person just in terms of having read a few comics.
That could work against you though.
It could very much work against
like
us.
it could be that
does
because you've read so many that you're like, yeah, I've seen both so many times they don't register. Like the fact that one of the things for me when I'm reading comics, I almost never, and I guess I shouldn't say this out loud because someone might be listening, but I almost never see the ads. Like my brain just goes, that's not a page of comic. I don't even see it.
Yeah.
It's not, it doesn't exist for me. I turn the page. It's fine.
Did you guys do a trick on that in Gwenpool? Where you
did we?
I feel like Hastings had a page that was an ad, and very specifically one of the standard ads that, like the house ads that Marvel was running that month, and then broke it. But I do not know exactly when.
I don't remember that.
Oh, I don't know.
I have to go back and look at
like,
that.
You mean like she interacted with an ad? I don't think. I mean, it couldn't have been a real ad. We certainly wouldn't have done that with a real ad.
I think
if we did a fake one.
It might have been. It was in a style. I am remembering like a page of like flipping to a page of an ad, and then the next one was the same thing, but then the comic interacting with it.
Oh, wow, that sounds like a kind of thing that Gwenpool could have done. But
if I'm making this up, then TM do not steal. But I know what everyone always says, so I'm holding you to that one. But I feel like it feels like something that happened.
We did I remember doing a cover. Do you remember when DC Comics started doing half-page ads suddenly?
Yeah, that was insane.
That was weird. Yeah,
it was pretty nutty. And we did a cover making fun of it on Deadpool, where Dave Johnson had a drawn Deadpool cover, and then with like a picture of like an MMA fighter advertising a fake thing on the bottom half of the cover. That was super great. Fun.
I love it.
In fact, I had there. So that was the normal cover. That was not the normal cover. It was a variant cover.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a sketch version of that variant cover, which was, I think, the like lowest print run of any variant cover. Maybe not ever, but like in many, many years.
Oh.
It was an extremely rare one, and I did have a copy of it because it was given to me by our head of sales, and it was absolutely in one of the boxes of comics that got destroyed in a flood in my storage unit.
No.
Which is fine because that means everyone else who has a copy just made money.
Listen, look at Jordan D. White taking care of the collectors out there.
Yeah, seriously. That's a really nice way of looking at it instead of just curling up into a ball and crying.
They just got added value.
All right. So our listeners sometimes debate whether Deadpool is an X-Man or not. But there really is no questioning that he's become a vital part of X-Force.
Yeah.
He's on the team in just about every issue at this point. So I want to talk a little bit about the big difference that I noticed between Percy's titles and the rest of the line, in that he has had a real luxury in that X-Force and Wolverine have been going since Hoxpox.
That's true. In fact, so are those the only things? Yeah, those are the only books that have stayed going with the exact same creative. Well, I'm going to say creative team.
But
same writer.
Right.
So one of the things that Percy
X-Force is the only one because Wolverine didn't start till later. But
yeah, how dare that be the first book you announce as a spin-off is Wolverine? Jordan, I've been waiting to take you to task for that for 4 years. How in the world do you imagine he's that popular?
Okay. You joke, but we actually tried to not do that.
to not do Wolverine.
Yeah. Me and Jonathan were like, no, we should wait. Like, hold off on doing Wolverine as long as possible. And
they were like, absolutely.
Everybody
not.
was like, yeah, it's as long as possible. Like, it's good enough.
There had not been, to be fair, there was not been a Wolverine solo in a spell.
Yeah,
it's true.
It was all substitute Wolverines
because he was dead. A lot of people are really mad at you right now because you didn't consider All New Wolverine a Wolverine book just now.
Guys, I told you. We know I love Laura. It's great. She's awesome. Go read Exterminated.
Laura's.
Yeah, there's multiple Lauras now, so we got Lauras for days.
We hadn't though. You're right. We did Return of Wolverine, and then
there was the Infinity Watch that
Jerry did.
Jerry did with that guy.
You can do it. You can do it.
Why don't I remember his name? The trade's right here.
Come on, Zach.
Andy McDonald.
There we go.
Oh, yes, of course. That was a fun book to do too. Oh my god, I just forgot the character's name.
Loki?
No, the new character we created.
I know exactly who he is. He's fun.
Yeah. He was on death row and then got a time stone put in him.
Yeah. Hey, it turns out if you search Time Stone Marvel, it's only about Thanos stuff. I don't know. Did you know there's some popular movies about this too?
Don't worry, Zach. With this, amount of specificity, he's bound to show up as a Marvel Snap card pretty soon. We already have Infinaut.
Well, I should say,
Infinaut rules, and everyone loves Infinaut.
First of all, I'm embarrassed that I don't remember the character's name because I love him. Second of all, he did move out of my purview too. Like he's shown up since then.
It's Hector Bautista. Overtime.
Boom.
That's a good name.
Yeah.
What were you asking?
Wait,
I'm going to go back
to that. What?
Right, I'm going to go back. So my question is, because Percy's had like the luxury of all of this extra time, he is telling a story in a very different way. And we've talked to him about this, and he's playing long game in a way that a lot of his colleagues can't, right? Or haven't been able to, let's say. So, like, for instance, just recently, I think Domino confronted Colossus about being brought back without some of her trauma. And that was something that happened like in the first couple issues. So
that was a long time ago. Yeah.
Do we have to approach editing these books, X-Force and Wolverine, a little differently than maybe the rest of the line?
Well, I don't know. I don't edit those books. I'm kidding. That was a joke. That was a joke answer. Sorry. Well, yeah. So here's the thing about the kind of state of comics publishing and Marvel and everything is that there are ongoing series and then there are ongoing series, right? There are books that are ongoing series and it's like, yeah. That's locked in. It's an ongoing series. We're not really worried about it. And then there's a lot of ongoing series that were like, this is an ongoing series. Fingers crossed.
Right.
Like, we would sure like this to be an ongoing series.
Right.
Nobody's worried that X-Men is not going to happen. You know what I mean? We're going to have an X-Men book. And thankfully, since we brought X-Force and Wolverine into the Krakoan era, nobody's been worried about those either. When we started doing Dawn of X, our philosophy on all those books, those first 6 especially, was these are books that are here to stay.
Okay.
Now, not all of them stayed, but a lot of them stayed for a pretty long time. I mean, 5 of them went on for a pretty long time. What did
New Mutants just wrapped up? I think
Marauders went pretty long. Right?
24, maybe.
That was 2 years.
Yeah. And so that would have been the next one. I mean, and again, X-Men ended, but only because Jonathan left and then Jerry came on. So it was more of a thematic change than it was like the book isn't going on.
Right.
So when we started those books, it was very much write them like they are ongoing books. Do not write these. I hope I'm not pulling back the curtain a little too far, but a lot of times when you start an ongoing series that isn't a sure thing, that isn't hey, it's a book called X-Men, and it's the lead book of the line. It's a book called Wolverine about one of the most popular characters in the Marvel universe. When you're doing a book like that, you have to kind of go into it going, we're definitely getting 5 issues, and hopefully we're going to go on past that. But is there a way to write this book so that if it ends at 5 issues, it doesn't feel like a waste of everyone's time? But if it goes on past that, it also feels like it was actually the start of something.
Yeah.
Right.
That's not easy.
No.
And sometimes, I'll be honest with you, sometimes I'm like, I hate this and I don't want to do it, to the extent that I'm like, you know what, let's just call this a 5-issue miniseries then. And if it's successful, we'll do more. We'll launch an ongoing or something. That's another way to look at it. So it's a hard thing. Ben is, in that respect, really lucky because he started writing that way, and we've been able to maintain it. We probably could have kept Marauders going that way with Jerry. I don't know if that's true. We probably could have kept it going for a while. Again, we didn't cancel that book because it wasn't selling. We canceled it. We didn't cancel it. We ended it because Jerry was going to take over X-Men and he needed to focus on that. And so then we relaunched the book with Steve. But that was a pretty big shift. And you said New Mutants kept going, but that's misleading because that's the one that we said for. I don't really know 100% why we decided on that one. We'll keep the numbering. But I don't think that the 3 versions of New Mutants that happened are really one thing. Not in a bad way. Not in a way that it's like, oh, it doesn't fit. I just mean.
It could have easily been a volume 2.
It could have easily been a volume 3 because you really had the Jonathan book, the Ed
Brisson,
book, and the Vita book, and they all
and then the Charlie stuff at the end.
Oh yeah, of course, of course. They all have connectivity to them, but they're not necessarily like, oh no, it's just one story that 4 different writers have told. So that doesn't quite count. But yeah, Ben has been able to do the entire thing on his own, and that's great. So it is very different. It is very different because you don't always have that luxury. Now, I don't want to say though that Ben's the only one doing it, in the sense that, like I said, X-Men is a book that we're pretty confident is going to go. Jerry has been thinking about things for a long time. Kieran and Al are planners, and which is not to say those books are assured to go on forever. They're not. If they drop in sales, they will get canceled. But those are guys who plan things out, and so they are built to write things long form. So they will continue them. So yeah, but you're right. Ben is. I hadn't even remembered that Ben is the only one who's still writing his Dawn of X book. That's pretty amazing.
Listen, we're about to figure out who the Peacock Man is, and
I know
that's been 4 years
issue 1.
Some people are impatient. I'm like, buds, this is the good stuff right here. Getting to wait forever to figure something out.
Yeah, that's Claremontian at best, right?
Plus, I know people are impatient and also not impatient, but and also the opposite, in the sense that, like, yeah, you get the complaints that Ben's taking too long, but you also get the complaints that we're electing X-Men too quickly.
Yeah,
I get it.
Jordan, why are you telling me that comics do not operate on the same calendar year that we operate on, and that some of this is fiction?
I don't know why you're asking me this question when it's been thoroughly explained in Al Ewing's Ultimates.
That's true.
Home of the Infinite. People, if you like Marvel Snap, go read it. Again, it's here's the thing, folks. Do you like that part in the Start of Sword where they go and steal metal from God? Then you should go read Al Ewing's
Everything.
Ultimates.
Defenders Beyond.
Defender. Oh my gosh, Defenders Beyond. Jeez. Jordan, you've read that, right? You've read Al's Defenders Beyond?
Yeah, of course. He went to the White Hat Room and everything.
Yeah. Good stuff. That guy.
Trippy. Very much carrying on the lineage of the Marvel 70s, but in a very modern way.
Yeah.
But one of the things one of many things I didn't get to do with Gwenpool was I wanted to do if we did another Christmas special with her, have her be like, how many Christmases are there going to be in the 1 year I've been here? That was only she would notice, because that's another thing. They celebrate Christmas pretty often. pretty much every year. People get mad at us for doing the Hellfire Gala every year, and they're like, that doesn't make any sense. It's like, what? They do everything every year. What are you talking about?
In the Krakoa era, you guys have tied into 2 different events that took place at Christmas.
What was the first one?
The King in Black.
Oh, was that Christmas? I didn't remember.
There's a great Hulk tie-in, again, Al Ewing, that's all silent, him and Aaron Cooter.
Oh, that one's good.
Where Hulk is running around fighting
store, right?
Venom guys in a Santa hat.
That's a good one.
Right.
So I do want to talk about X-Men Vote, but I would like to put in a plug. I would be great to have a Krakoan Christmas at some point. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the closest we have would have been this. So 2 things on that. First of all, the closest we would have would be what we did in Dark Web. Obviously,
it is a Christmas book.
It's
better
than Die Hard. Yes, Magic is wearing a Santa hat, and also in. Wait, that hasn't come out yet, has it?
Okay.
Wait, no, did X-Men 18 come out?
Is that the one with Laura and the Lauras? Yes, that came out.
Okay, great. They have a Christmas hat in that too.
Yep.
Oh. But the other thing being, again, if you go back to the Jonathan era, when we would talk about holidays, it became, well, aren't those really human holidays? Are they going to celebrate human holidays? And in fact, if I think about this, I'm pretty sure the original idea of the Hellfire Gala was to have it around the holidays, and then plans have ended up moving it, and we were like, but still, that can be kind of our holiday instead.
Yeah,
right.
I like it.
Yeah.
So we've got another one.
Okay.
So, any idea? I mean, I don't know if we know when the vote is. Do we know?
No.
We don't know. Okay, that's a secret.
Well, I know.
I know you know, but the world does not know, right?
That's true.
So
yes.
We're not going to share that information.
I'm sure it's sooner than you think.
Yeah, it was last year. It snuck up on us.
Well, and people, I know that's another thing.
Last year was literally the day we put up the episode. It was great.
Oh, that's very funny. Well, I don't know when you're putting up the episode. It might happen
Monday.
Again. Monday, the 23rd?
Coming Monday.
Yes.
It's not then.
Okay.
What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. I mean, again, speaking of things I see people complaining about, people saying, oh, why do they do it so early? And it's like, because it's real,
right?
Because we really are letting the fans decide, and then we have to write the books,
right?
Like we can't do it right before it comes out, or else they won't be in the books for 6 months. Like Jerry needs to know who he's going to be writing.
You mean comics don't magically just appear and get drawn overnight?
Yeah. It takes a significant amount of time, and especially, the amount of time it takes in a vacuum, one issue of comic, average time. All things going, I want to say all things going well, but not like insane. I'm not going to go, it's everything is perfect. The artist is the fastest they've ever been.
Right.
Just normal. So let's say the writer at the beginning is tricky in the sense of, there are times when you'll talk to a writer and you'll get a book a month later, but let's just say maybe I'll talk to someone, we'll say, okay, good, we agreed on what the issue's about, terrific, go ahead and write it. Let's say 2 weeks. So they read it in 2 weeks. They get us the script. That involves any back and forth if I have notes on it. So 2 weeks after we started talking, we started the clock on this issue, let's say. I can then get it to an artist. On average, I would say your typical artist is going to be drawing a book for 6 weeks, 20 pages in 6 weeks. So now we're at 2 months already. Then on top of that, you're not going to add a lot of time for colors, 1 to 2 weeks for colors. 1 week is not great, but presumably if you do it in 1 week, it's not saying that they have to color it all in 1 week, because hopefully as the person is inking the pages, you're getting them to them. But the point being, 2.5 months ish for a single comic in a vacuum. That's pretty sensible, and that's right. So then people could go, well, then why don't you have it 2.5 months before? I was like, okay, well, hold on. Also, there's printing, right? So at this point, I think we send a book to press, I don't know, 6 weeks before it comes out, 5-6 weeks. So then we're already at 4 months. That already takes us to 4 months. Plus, the big problem if you're good at math, you've already might have noticed that 6 weeks is more than a month for the artist. And so that's a problem if you want the book to come out monthly. So in order for that to work, you're going to go, well, I actually want this artist to draw 5 issues of this book or less. I only want them to draw 3. But regardless,
you need a head start.
You need a head start. You need to get someone to draw 3 issues. You need 18 months before the last one would be done. 18 months. I'm sorry, 18 weeks. Sorry. Not 18 months, 18 weeks.
The artist would love 18 months.
Of course, of course. So anyway, all of that means that really January is we're in January. Jerry would really like to already know who he's going to be writing. He's making lots of plans for that.
Has he happened to just look at the list of characters and figure out which lady has been in a TV show that people forgot about?
First of all, nobody forgot anything. Oh, well, did I forget that Polaris was in a TV show?
Jordan, are you telling me you forgot about Fox TV's The Gifted, a show I could not finish?
No, I didn't forget about it, but I think I was definitely surprised at how much of a difference that made.
Right.
Yeah.
I did not see that coming. And then with Firestar, I'll be honest, there were people who, when they saw that list, went, oh, well, obviously Firestar's going to win. And I was like, really? Because, of course, I remember that cartoon, too. It's older than even me. But I remember it from when I was young as well. They still did it on reruns. But I was also going, but it wasn't an X-Men thing, like, at all. It was a Spider-Man thing. And I'm a Spider-Man guy, but that doesn't mean I would put her on the X-Men. So, yes, she had more wide media exposure, but I still was surprised that she won.
Plus, you were pulling for Micromax,
Only because I love Excalibur so much. I knew he didn't have a shot. I did vote for him, but I knew he didn't have a shot.
Listen, I wanted to vote for Micromax. Yeah. I chose not to. I had to listen to my son, who looked at the list of characters and said, I want this one. Which I think he picked Surge. I forget.
I was team...
He doesn't read comics.
I think it was Marrow last year. I was big on Marrow. Was Marrow
wasn't last year.
No, that was the
Marrow
first
wasn't
year.
last year.
Forgot I said that. So without...
Wait, hold on. Let me think who you voted for.
This last
I actually don't know who you voted for.
I'm thinking back on the candidates and I'm gonna try to guess.
Okay.
Penance.
Hold on, I got to go back and look at what the
you don't
ballot
even know.
was. No, what I'm getting my ballots confused.
Yeah, sure. So the thing that's helping me remember is I'm actually thinking of the Secret X-Men story.
Right.
That brings them together.
Yeah, there was Penance, Siren, Armor, Surge, Bling, Avalanche, Gentle, Firestar, Gorgon, Micromax.
Yeah, I remember who I voted for.
Who was
voted?
I voted for
Armor. Okay.
Armor?
I was wrong. Yeah. Bad guess.
Good for you.
I said who did what?
I said good for him.
Oh, so you
said we were Surge. Penance voters?
That was my guess.
Was that you voted for
Penance, but I was wrong.
She's my favorite out of that list. I would have preferred it. I only voted for Surge because my child said that he liked that she had blue hair.
Is that how you do all your voting?
I mean,
you just ask your kid.
The
kid always picks the
X-Men one where I tried to potentially rig it one year and failed, and then said I'll just do the next year however it falls.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So my question is, without revealing any of the candidates, will we again get a sort of, Micromax-esque character in the lineup that most readers may have forgotten, but true believers will remember?
There's nobody on the Micromax level. No.
Okay.
What I will say is things are a little different this year, and you'll see. But there are 3 different. There has not been agreement on who is the obvious winner.
Okay. We got some contenders.
3 different characters that people have been like, oh, definitely it'll be that one. And I've been like, great, good. You said a different person again. That's wonderful. So I feel like there's going to be some competition this year.
That's great.
Let's see it happen. I'm excited for that.
Yeah.
And, Jordan, as we get close to the hour here, the one real other question we have, these votes tend to get revealed at the Hellfire Gala. If and when, that's just the tradition. You've attended multiple times.
Yeah.
The last times you've attended, you've gone with a classic tux. And someone on Twitter did want to know that if you got invited to a third, what would your Jumbo Carnation inspired outfit look like? Or would you just be going in casual human wear?
I'm a casual human, man. Jumbo doesn't have time for me, and I can't afford him. No, listen. In much the same way, well, first of all, I would never get invited to the Met Gala, but if I did, I would be like, I can't actually wear something interesting. That would be ridiculous. I'm not the kind of person who can do that. No, I would end up wearing normal clothes.
Normal classic tux.
I'm sorry.
As someone who has illustrated some very wacky looks for Zach and I for each gala, despite the fact that we have yet to actually attend.
Hey, speak for yourself. I've got that flower in the PR invitation
right.
they sent out right here.
Yeah, so I guess Zach technically went. But
thank you.
But Jordan, if you ever need a look, just I'll be glad to whip something up for you.
Oh, well, thank you very
I think
much.
last year we were wearing like shorts and Russian
I had
hats.
a kilt.
A kilt, yes. I think I gave you a kilt.
Which was a weird choice because I'm not that Scottish. I'm Scottish in that my grandparents' names are McLean, but I'm also from Ohio, which means that all that can just be kind of like spread around to people at a certain point.
McLean,
remember,
as in Die Hard.
Yes.
No, it's spelled different.
I'm trying to remember what I was doing the first year because it's been so long now. I can't remember.
Not talking to Gwenpool when you could have been talking to Iron Maiden's Eddie.
Well, I'm no offense to Iron Maiden, they were delightful to work with, but I still am sticking with Gwenpool. They got to talk to Jerry and Brian. Eddie got to talk to Jerry and Brian. That's good enough.
Listen, I was tickled pink to see Eddie in his full trooper regalia.
Did you see the shirts that they did?
Wait, maybe.
They did a line of shirts.
They did like an Iron Maiden Marvel shirt.
I sent you links to
crossover
those.
shirts.
Yep.
They're super fun.
I saw those.
I have one. I don't remember what is on it right now.
They were
It's up
pretty
in my
cool.
closet. They were really nice.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember what I was doing the first year though, because definitely the second year I was talking to Gwenpool, which was awesome.
I want to say you were just vibing, but I'm not going to flip through those issues. There's several.
Just talking to Eminem.
Oh, that's right. There was not a one shot that year, so I could have been in any issue. Well, who drew me? No, I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
It would take too long. Yeah. But yeah, Gwenpool, it was delightful that I got to do that because Matteo Loli was just like, I'm going to draw you in. And I was like, great. And he went, who do you want to be talking to? And I was like, Gwenpool. He was like, sure. And then he, because he knows I like it, went, I'm going to draw her like Sailor Moon. And I don't mean he told me that. He just did it. He drew her wearing a Sailor Moon inspired outfit and then sent it in. And we didn't have lines in the script. Jerry, when he did his pre-lettering script pass, gave us lines just because we looked great in the art. And he was like, all right, let's do this. So that was really, really fun. It was a fun surprise.
That's great.
It was a hearty chuckle from us all. But no, 2023's here. It's an exciting year. Anything, I know you can't say anything. You excited about 2023? Excited for people to see what you guys have been working on?
Oh yeah. I mean, again, big stuff. Sins of Sinister is such a blast. I honestly can't wait to see what people think. It's bananas. It's really bananas. But super fun and pays off some really cool stuff and also sets up some really cool stuff. And then a lot of things before we get to the Hellfire Gala and Fall of X, and then big things happen that set us off into Fall of X that will lead to some really neat stuff. There's a bunch of things that haven't been announced, obviously, that are going to be neat. Projects that folks have been working on for a little bit that y'all don't know about yet. And I'm looking forward to that. That'll be really neat.
It's good to hear that you weren't ending the franchise with Fall of X.
I know.
There was some concern.
Well, you said 2023.
Oh,
so
we'll have to see next year's check-in how that is.
Also, I'm excited about 2023 because there's a new Evil Dead movie coming out.
Oh,
is there?
Yes, there is.
Is it a
It's
sequel
called-
or is it
It is.
another
it is-
remake of the original?
It is another story, from
Oh.
what I can tell. It is
Okay.
just here's other people encountering a book that does this stuff.
Different creative team from the last
Different
time?
creative team. It's called which is a bit of a bummer because again, that's my favorite movie of all time. I'm pointing to the
Right.
poster, but you can't.
Yeah,
even see
yeah,
it.
yeah.
But it's called Evil Dead Rise. When is it? March, April, something like that. The trailer's out. It looks scary as all hell. It takes place in the city instead of in a
Oh.
cabin, and it involves. I mean, if you watch the trailer, you'll see this. If you don't want to see this, if you're not going to watch the trailer, cover your ears. But it involves a mother getting possessed and seeming to want to murder her children and family. So that's horrifying.
Wow. This is heavy, man.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I can't wait to watch that movie. I cannot wait.
Well, that sounds exciting. Anything else you want to plug before we wrap things up here, Jordan?
Yeah. Nature Trail to Hell
Ooh.
is the name of the podcast I've been doing. The
Oh,
first
right. You're
season
doing a
of it
horror
is out.
podcast
Yeah,
now, right,
yeah.
Jordan?
The first season of it is out. It's me and this friend of mine named Stefan Lawrence. And the first season was that he had never seen a single Friday the 13th movie.
Mhm.
Not one of them. And of course, I've seen them all way too many times, think about them way too much. So we went through all of those and then 2 bonus movies that were not actually related to them, which are Saturday the 14th and this movie called 13 Fanboy, which is dreadful. But we watched all of those. Those are all up there. You can listen to them. And I think either last Friday when this comes out, or maybe this Friday. The point is, if it's not out already, we will be about to start season 2, in which we're going to watch all of the Texas Chainsaw films.
Oh,
Again, he has seen none of them.
jeez.
I
That's
have
a
only seen like
weird
half of them.
franchise.
Yeah, it's extremely weird.
Very
It's
weird.
extremely weird, but it's going to be an adventure getting through them. And so yeah,
That's
Nature Trail
exciting.
to Hell. It's on all the typical podcast places.
Folks, if you know how to listen to if you're listening to this, you can figure out
Right.
podcasts.
Right.
I gotta believe that.
Oh,
It should be a good time. It should be a good time. And again, we already did all the Jason movies, and those are the most fun to talk about. So you should definitely go listen to those.
Oh, good.
Sounds
Oh,
fun.
good.
It is. It's
Adam.
a lot of fun to do.
Adam, anything going on in your neck of the woods?
no, I started classes, so that's exciting. And you can follow me on Instagram at adam.rec. And Zach, anything you want to plug before we go?
No, never try and find me. But do come back next week where Adam is going to be absent. But we have a special guest host that I think a lot of people are going to be very excited about as we enter into an age of apocalypse ? No, it'll be fun. Jordan, thank you so much for
Thank you,
joining
Jordan.
us again.
It was a pleasure. It was always a good time to come on.
Always a good time to have you. But until next time, folks, this has been Battle of the Atom. We hope you survived the experience.
Get it!